Well, welcome, Ian and Ben, our father and son combination for our Father's Day service. And thank you for being brave and agreeing to be interviewed for this special service. And thank you in advance for what you've prepared with your answers to these questions. So, spoiler alert: these guys have been given the questions beforehand. So it's the easy one to kick things off, but perhaps it might have some hard truth with it. I don't know. But the first question being, do your children think your jokes are funny? And I know, Ben, you're going to find it hard to answer this one. So we'll start with Ian.
Well, yes and no. It depended on the joke. Jokes, I think everyone knows what those answers would be. Well, you get the usual response. Oh, Dad.
Who's on first?
Who's on first? Is that a standard one in your house? The repeat of that?
Yeah, what's on second?
I don't know, who's on third?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So that was a depending on. Ben, how's it going? It's pretty early to kind of be judging this, but
Yeah, well, assuming that Maddie can understand my jokes, she gives me lots of giggles, so that's about all I can get.
Yep. Well, that's a win at this stage, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, on to the next question, which is, what's been your experience of Father's Day? You could talk about the one that you just had just last Sunday, or how that's changed over the years for you as you've gone from being a son to a father, and for Ian as a grandfather too.
I attacked this as was worded in the question. So I started from that as a son, working through then as a father and then as a grandfather. I grew up in a large family with 8 siblings, so finances were a bit tight. So I can't really remember it being celebrated until most of us were married and had moved away from home. It wasn't until then that for both Mother's Day and Father's Day that my parents would be invited out for a meal at different times to celebrate with different family members. Then as a father, having 5 sons, Father's Day would always be celebrated by being spoiled. I have a memory of when Andrew and Ben were quite young. I couldn't tell you what age, but being brought breakfast in bed, jam and toast and a cup of tea. Now the boys try to make it a special day and really make me feel very appreciated by being taken either out for a meal or having a barbecue. Just being appreciated. And as a grandfather to Finley, Michael and Beth's daughter, and now to little Madeline, it really gives me great joy to see Ben take on the role as a father of little Madeline and to support Ben and Roz in their role as parents. Looking forward to being able to instill into the grandchildren's lives the love of God, his faithfulness, and the saving grace of our Lord Jesus, to help them as parents to continue the spiritual legacy which has been handed down through our family for over 5 or more generations since my father's ancestors emigrated from Germany in the mid-1800s.
Wow, that's before even Father's Day existed as a celebration.
That's right.
Impressive. Ben, what's your answer?
Well, I think Dad sort of covered a lot of it from the childhood version of trying to spoil them as much as we could as children, doing breakfast in bed and that sort of stuff, and very fond memories of buying the good old coffee mugs of number one dad or best father, and then also the random miscellaneous tools that we thought, oh, Dad would find a use for this, or all the extra hardware that he ended up with out in the shed, through to just trying to make Dad's Day special as we grew up, and as we sort of ventured away into adulthood, we'd try and get together for lunch or that sort of thing. And now into married life, it gets a little bit harder to do that sort of thing, trying to juggle both sides, family and that. So we'd try and at least get there for an afternoon tea or something like that to celebrate Father's Day with him. And now coming into being a father of my own, it hasn't really been the best Father's Day being stuck in lockdown, but Rosalind and Maddie tried to make it as special as they could, making me a giant breakfast feast in bed consisting of pancakes, bacon and eggs, fruit salad. Yeah, they really did a really big breakfast for me, which ended up being lunch as well. And also getting my first Father's Day mug as well, which was exciting, with Father's Day photos of me and Maddie and that on it. So that was quite special as well.
Yeah. I think that certainly seems to be a difference between, I remember giving my dad, I think it might have been like an over the hill mug or something at some stage. There's, right there with the love. But now you get all those mugs with the images and so on. It's excellent. All right, thanks guys. So the next question is, what is the best or a habit and skill that you've learnt from your father, and what is one that you've wanted to pass on or tried to pass on as a father?
For me, was do it right the first time. Do it right and do it once was instilled into me, along with a work ethic. My father taught me many skills, even as a teenager, mucking around with timber in the backyard with a hammer and saw and so on, assisting me to build my first house at the age of 21. I'm now dealing with more sophisticated equipment, if anyone has seen my garage come workshop. I've been blessed with many God-given gifts and abilities, from my trade in the engineering fabrication industry to working for my father in the metal machining business, then going on to into building design and construction, and onto tertiary studies and teaching. I've learnt to apply myself to do whatever task is put in front of me. I coined a bit of a saying when people would ask me, how did you know how to do that? I would say, you never know till you have a go. Passing this on to the boys has been the same goal. Colossians chapter 3:17 says, whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through him to God the Father. The boys worked with me as we renovated and added extensive additions to our family home, and helping Ben with the restoration of a car. Ben found his love of building at around the age of 8 whilst doing our renos. It was very satisfying to watch him go on and successfully complete his apprenticeship in Cert 3 and Cert 4 in carpentry. It has been very rewarding to be able to go on several mission trips to PNG, as well as playing HCCF soccer alongside both Ben and Andrew, and to watch them grow in their walk with God and use their gifts and abilities for him.
Very good. I've certainly seen that as something that's been passed along. Ben, any response to that? And also, so what you're just going to agree with your dad, or maybe not? And then
more or less,
what you
more or
might
less,
want to
yes.
pass on to Maddie.
I've definitely gotten off my father the hand-working skill of being able to try to apply your hands to anything, and as he said, at least have a go at it. And 9 times out of 10, you'll get it wrong the first time and slowly improve and correct your mistakes as you keep going through. And yeah, just persevering at what you try to do. And yeah, I've definitely gotten the skill of working with my hands from Dad, which is, as he stated, taking me into my current career path of being a carpenter. And yeah, and I guess at the moment, trying to pass on the skills to Maddie of the essential human skills of talking, walking, crawling, all that sort of stuff. And in the future, I'd love to try and get going with hand tools and yeah, just doing odd jobs around the house or whatever. And yeah, I'd really love to try and pass that on to Maddie and hopefully my future children as well.
Very good. Was your dad right about the age of 8?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Good memory, Ian. The next question is, how has being a disciple of Jesus impacted the way you've acted as a parent? Or another way of putting that is, how has your faith impacted your parenting? Or do you hope for it to impact your parenting going into the future, Ben?
Well, only being fresh as a father at the moment, of Maddie being almost 4 months old, I guess the biggest practices that being a disciple of Jesus has given me is the practice of being patient, being loving, being kind, all those attributes that the fruits of the Spirit pretty well cover. That's definitely helped me with the late nights of crying or not knowing what's got Maddie in distress, and going through all the checklist of, does she need to be fed? Does she need nappy change? Is she uncomfortable? All that checklist. It's definitely having the patience through God has definitely helped with that.
Very good. And Ian?
Yeah, I've thought long and hard about this. And when I look at the life of Jesus, as much as he spent time teaching, etc., he also lived by example. So I've tried to live by example. A lot of the time, it's not what you say that impacts lives, but what you do by example. I've heard someone say, what is the gospel according to you? In other words, by your actions. I heard someone else use the expression, I like to preach the gospel and if necessary, use words. Sometimes I got it right, sometimes I got it wrong, but God uses us anyway. I think that about sums it up.
Very good. Absolutely, with the modeling side of things. That was, I think his prime way of teaching, but the modeling and the teaching, and it's still today. Okay, so we are almost at the end of our first half of the interview. So we're now up to the point of the songs, the worship songs that you gentlemen have picked for us to be part of the service. Perhaps, Ian, you might want to share your one first and why you've picked it for us, and then Ben after that.
I picked the song When Peace Like a River, or as it's known as Well With My Soul. I've been involved in choir singing since my late teens, and I've always loved singing this because of the harmonies. I've become more aware of the words as life has gone on and the curveballs that come my way. When I came across the story behind this hymn, it really struck a chord with me and gave me inspiration. The writer could have given up when all that he went through and suffered, but his strength was in the Lord.
Very good. Thank you. And Ben, your choice and why?
My choice was Good Father. I've absolutely loved this song since I first heard it. And I really love the lyrics, which I hope that will become true for me and my love to my children, that my love is so undeniable that they can hardly speak. And I believe that's a really powerful line, that I know God's love is like that. And I just pray and hope that my love can be like that for my children.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Okay, gentlemen. Well, that's it for the first half of the interview. We'll listen to those songs and sing those songs together, and then we'll be back together for the second part of the interview. So see you then.